What's up, everyone? ODC here, and I'm back with another action figure review. Today's review, we're going to take a look at the JoyToy PLA Marine Corps External Combat Team. This is a really cool set. This was one that came out, I want to say, a couple months ago, a few months ago, actually, and one I was really looking forward to. I really like these new body bucks that they're working with. I think everything is pretty well done as far as what I can see. I think there might be just a couple little nitpicks that I have with just not just this set, but JoyToy in general. But I do have to say this, that a lot of the nitpicks that I do have are JoyToy is showing improvement towards those nitpicks. They're this is a secondary, I should say a specialty item is what I should say. This is a specialty item. It's going to cost a little bit more. These figures do cost a little bit more that I've established in the past. So, with that, the higher price point comes. Price point is always a importance on my channel. I try to stress that, action figures, you're essentially paying for plastic little people. And should you have to pay an arm and a leg for that? I don't necessarily think you should, but with a specialty item, I can kind of justify that. These figures are, a smaller, these are not a retail figure. They're going to be a smaller production run. So there's that to take into account when you see the price point. I believe I paid about $80 for these, and I got them from Big Bad Toy Store. Now, Big Bad Toy Store is going to make you wait a little bit longer than you normally would if you just buy them directly from Locker Toys. Locker Toys usually get, if you pre-order figures, they usually get them right away. The shipping might take a little bit longer, maybe about a week or so. But I've never really had an issue with Locker Toys as far as the shipping is concerned. And I have to commend them for a lot of enjoyable action figures that have come out. This is essentially replaced G.I. Joe for me. These figures look great. They're a lot of fun. They're, I want to say, probably the best 3 3/4 inch figures on the market right now. As far as range of motion, articulation, paint detail, all of that. I want to say it's all wrapped up into one nice little bundle. Now, there's going to be growing pains with a newer company, obviously. We've all seen some growing pains with some of the Russian figures, the Russian Federation figures that they came out with last year. But, it's a newer toy company, and I'm willing to go through those growing pains and have some of those sacrifices to get the product that we have today and into the future. But anyway, that all aside, JoyToy, the PLA team that you see in front of you is a Marine PLA team, and they are, Chinese. They're a Chinese a military team. This is a 3-pack. Usually, we're used to seeing 5 or 6 figures in a set. I think the only set that had 6 figures was the SEAL team, and I think that's it. Everything else has been either 5 or 3 per set. Now they're starting to churn out the 3-packs. Some single-carded figures. Usually the single-carded figures cost a little bit more just because they come with more. The packaging's different. Everything's a little bit more for the single-carded figures. But these split up. I'm loving that a toy company is finally giving us full team sets. It's just fantastic. And regardless whether, maybe PLA doesn't appeal to you, it appeals to me because we don't get foreign military action figures. We really don't get that. And with JoyToy, you're getting some modern stuff and you're getting some futuristic tech like via a Titanfall, which is obviously, when you see most of these figures, the concepts of them came directly ripped from Titanfall. And that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. But looking at this set, it's a really nice set. Uh, I like each individual figure for kind of their own reasons, I guess. Um, I I like this guy just because the head sculpt right here. And the other cool thing, just before I get to that, just to go off on one more tangent, uh, uh, I really like the head sculpt that they've had recently. Some of the yelling faces, the Gerber baby faces, is what I call them. They're a little wacky, but overall, I guess I don't mind them. They have character to them, and that character shines. And the other cool thing about JoyToy is that you can make these characters your own. That was what made GI Joe so important. Is that you know, when GI Joe started, all you had was the file card. You didn't really have the TV show yet when the figures came out. Yeah, sure, you had the comic, but you know, not a lot of kids had the comic, so all you had was the file card to work off of. These guys don't even have a file card. It's a clean slate. Or you could do team ups with other teams. You could do an international team, is what I'm doing here with JoyToy. But that all aside, the set themselves just comes with the 3 figures. We've got one with a balaclava face on. We've got one with just a helmeted face, or helmeted and his face exposed. And then we have a non-helmeted and exposed face figure. Some of these figures, I mean, with the PLA figures, they're supposed to be Chinese. I want to say that it shows a little bit more so in his face than anybody else's. But I can see how you could make these guys or see these guys as being Asian, of Asian descent, or Chinese, is what I meant to say. But I really like the design here. It's simplistic, but it works. It works really well. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to sit here and be talking with my hands, but actually, let me get him out of here. And then let me just put him over there. We'll put this guy over there. We'll get to them. And then we'll just start off with, I almost don't want to say my least favorite, because they're all really good figures. And I like them, like I said, for their own individual reasons. But this figure is probably, if I have to pick, the least favorite of the crew, because I want to say he lacks a little bit in character. We can't really see his face, which isn't the end of the world. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it leaves a little bit too much mystique for me. I kind of like to see the person's face, but and we see that a lot with JoyToy, is that we see a lot of masked characters. So I like to think of those as just kind of the extras, or if you wanted to make a custom, you could always use maybe the balaclava head figure as a custom maybe down the road. But anyway, these guys and girls, I should say, because there are girls in the line, are pretty modular. I mean, everything that you see here, you can pretty much tear down. The elbow joint, you can disconnect that. You can disconnect the hand. You can take all of his gear off. I believe in the packaging, these guys did come with their gear on, if I can remember correctly. At least my set did. I know sometimes they'll send figures, or they'll send you figures. Some will have all their gear off, and some will have their gear on. I'm not really sure why that is, but mine came with all their gear on already. I actually ended up, I think, took some gear off of them. I think the only thing they didn't have on was their backpacks, and I took off the backpacks for the other 2 guys, and I just left the backpack on the sniper. But anyway, I digress. The figure in front of you just comes with this weapon, as you can see. I'm not really sure what this is molded after, and this weapon does differ from the other gentleman's rifle, the unmasked gentleman's rifle. Like I said in my custom workshop video, I'm not really sure what this gun is. Someone wants to let me know in the comments. I tried to do some research. I couldn't really find anything, unfortunately. But it's a cool looking rifle, assault rifle. Looks more like a I don't know, kind of like a FAMAS and like I said, a PDR kind of had a baby, and out came this thing. So I don't mind it. I think it looks really cool. I like bullpup figures, bullpup rifles and such. So I am a fan of this. I think it looks really cool. He also comes with a pistol, which is snug in that holster. It's rather small. You can lose these. Thank God for Marauders. So if you wanted to replace this with a Marauders gun, you could if you don't like it. But I think it looks pretty cool. Almost looks like those internal silencer pistols. I forgot what the heck the name of it is, but I'm sure someone will let me know in the comments. But it looks pretty cool. They are a little bit on the flat side. That's something I wanted to kind of point out. It's a little bit of a nitpick with me. That looks a little bit on the flat side to me because it's got to fit in that holster, but they should start making the holsters. No, actually, I think a regular Marauder's gun should fit in there. Let's see if I can grab one real quick. We'll try this M9 for Marauders. Yeah, it's a little bit on the large side. But it will fit. It looks a little funky, but it'll fit in there. I'm trying not to force anything because I don't want anything to snap off, but yeah, the Marauders Task Force guns are a little bit larger. And here's a little comparison with the two. It's not grotesquely bigger, but they are thicker. And a nitpick of mine was that some of the other teams that I have, like the SEAL team, I'll just call them SEAL Team 6, their holsters were rather loose, and the pistols kept flying out of the holsters, which was rather annoying. I'm going to be honest with you there. But seems like with this set, they've kind of fixed that. And it does seem like they tend to listen to their fans, so or customers, excuse me, as far as nitpicks and gripes, because the set was like damn near perfect. The head sculpt looks really good, even though it's just a balaclava face. Really pleased with the sculpting on the side of the head here. The insignia, the Chinese insignia on the center of the tack vest looks really good. Very pleased with that. It's nice to see that we actually got some different flag insignias right there. I like the sculpting of the arm with the pouches on the side of the arm. That looks really nice. I really love these knuckle dusters. It's like finally a company got knuckle dusters correct, and they really put some time and effort and love into that. So that looks really good. Nice sculpting on that. We got like some sort of gadget right here. We've got the back of the front of the tack vest has a rifle holster. It's kind of like a carabiner. Unfortunately, I noticed that this little slot is actually too thin for the carabiner because it's supposed to hang like this through that slot, but it won't fit through that slot. So I don't know. Maybe if I get ambitious, I'll scrape a little bit more off in the inside and make it so that this can actually hang like so. But for right now, it's not bad at all, really. I'm not gonna nitpick the shit out of it. It's nice that we actually get little carabiners like this so we can hold guns and such. Also, you get a bunch of different sculpted carabiners down here in case you want to have it hooked onto one of those. You could also actually fish a little string through here and use it as a little harness in case you want to have him climbing something like that. So that's pretty cool. But moving on to the rest of the tack vest, really nice coloring, nice paint shading going throughout. It really does look like this is a nice leather chest rig, so that looks really good. Really pleased with that. Moving around to the back, that's what the back looks like. He's got some shotgun shells right here. And this is moving on to the back portion. Really good paint shade. I mean, look at the amount of detail and paint shading going throughout just for the rear end harness, and then the front end harness on the crotch piece. Just so well done, so cool. I really love this little scarf that he's got right here. It is removable. You can remove it by just popping the head off. And then just take it off like so if you want to have a little bit of differentiation between the three gentlemen in this crew, or task force, whatever you want to call it, fire team. Really like the paint detail on the leg rigs. Looks really good. Very nicely done. Look at the detail on the different magazines here. It almost looks like we got some 9mm magazines in the front, and then behind those we've got some what looks to be 5.56 or maybe 7.62 ammo mags, whichever his assault rifle takes. But it looks really cool. I like that this this belt piece is a floating piece. That's nicely done. Moving over along to the knee pads. Knee pads look good. Nice weathering effect on there. It's slight, but it is there. So that's good. The shoes almost look like Asics, but pretty cool. Right. As far as getting him into like a stance or anything like that, you shouldn't have an issue. Really, just kind of playing around with the figure, getting him into like a dynamic pose. It's just so simple to do. I definitely do recommend that you, before posing, before putting any of the armor on or gear on, that you do heat them up a little bit. I would definitely use a hair dryer with these figures. That would be my recommendation. But yeah, these guys, they look like they're ready for action, and they're so much fun to pose. Like, it's just that simple, just to get them into a ready stance pose. It's that easy. The scarf, even though it is a rubbery plastic and there is paint shading going throughout the little scarf or scarf piece, whatever I should call it, it does hinder a little bit of articulation in the head, because, I mean, you can get his head to go pretty far back, decently far back. Some, especially acid rain figures, you can get their head to go all the way back. There's like a big, huge, long hinge joint, so you can get them into those sniper poses. You can still kind of accomplish that with this. I've seen some people gluing this neck piece down. I'm going to be honest with you, I understand that some of these figures do get loose over time, but I definitely don't recommend that you glue the neck peg piece. It really does help with range of motion, especially trying to get that neck back. I understand that once you glue this, I mean, his neck is just going to sit like this, and then you only have the headpiece. So right now, all this is moving. If I take this off and show you, it's a little bit less of movement in just the head portion. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of that articulation and range of motion in that neck piece. So that's where you're going to want to do. That's what you're going to want to do. So I can't really recommend you glue the neck piece down. I understand that some of the figures are loose in the neck, but just try to be patient with it. Work with it. Don't glue it. Use some floor polish. It will work wonders, and this way you don't have to be stuck with a stagnant neck that doesn't want to move at all, and then you're losing out on all that range of motion. So that's just my recommendation. You do what you want. At the end of the day, it's your figure, but for me, I use floor polish for loose or joints that don't stick together. So, but as far as his articulation and the others' articulation, they're pretty much exactly the same. So I'm going to go through articulation with him, and then we'll move on to the other two figures. The head can swivel at a full 360 rotation, so no issues there. with that. The head can swivel also. For some reason, mine's a little bit stiff, but it can swivel. Let's see if we got some job turkey. Oh, yeah, we got some job turkeys over here. Job turkeys. Arms go up, they go down, full 360 rotation in the arm. A single bend at the elbow, but it's a really good single bend. Like I said, you don't always need double jointed everything. If the single bend can get the job done, it's just as good. So this is just as good as a Marvel Legends bend right here with a double joint. Actually better sometimes. But he also has a hinge joint, which goes back and forth on this side, and it can swivel in the wrist. Pretty much everything mirrors except for, oh no, the wrist is different. So we have pistol wrist on this side, so it goes up and down as opposed to this one going back and forth. See, the hinge joints are different, but it does swivel on this side, so it mirrors the other side, except for that hinge joint. He can swivel at the waist, and he can do that at a full 360 rotation. The belt might get in the way a little bit. Just kind of push it out of the way, push it down, out of the way, and you should be good. But he can bend forward, he can bend back, he can swivel, as I showed. Legs can go out. I mean, you don't really need him to do the splits that much. He's not a freaking ninja. The legs going forward have improved with JoyToy figures. You can get him into a vehicle if you need to. It's not the worst thing in the world. Is it as good as Marauders sitting down? No. But don't forget, there's a lot of sculpting in the way, and there's a lot of extra pieces. And you can take these pieces off and maybe get a little bit more range of motion, but it's mostly the cod piece or the waist piece that's kind of getting in the way of it. It's actually a pliable plastic too. Anyway, we do have double jointed knees, which to me, I think you really need double jointed knees. That's like the one thing where I'm like, yeah, you're probably going to want to use double jointed knees. Don't push it too much, but because you don't want to snap one of these leg pegs. They do come with extra stuff, but you don't want to snap them. Foot goes forward, can point the toe, can point the heel, can swivel, can pivot. Really good range of motion. This is what G.I. Joe has been needing for years. A proper ankle pivot can work. And then we have toe articulation as well. So you do have that. I am not the biggest fan of toe articulation. Some people are. I don't think it's a necessity for some figures. I get like getting that natural pose. You want to have the toe articulation so it looks like he's actually doing what he's supposed to. But in the same token, it's one more hinge joint that can just get loose, and then your guy's not standing right the whole time. He's going to keep toppling over. So I would prefer that would be like the one thing that they took away and it don't really have to give us back. It also takes away from some of the sculpt. That's just me. It's a personal preference thing, but I'm just pointing it out. He's got my favorite face sculpt out of the bunch, and it looks really good. It looks like this guy means business, and I really, really like it quite a bit. He's probably not as tactical as the other two with no helmet. I don't know if that's necessarily the smartest thing to do. You could always switch this head with the sniper, and maybe he doesn't want to use a helmet. Either way, any way you want to do it, it's up to you, your discretion. But he looks really good. Same articulation. That's why I went through articulation with the first guy, and I'm not going to go through it with these two because there's just no point. But range of motion, articulation is really good. I really like this head sculpt. That's why I'm mostly just talking about the head sculpt itself. But really good sculpt, nice detail. I mean, even that fade with the kind of a crew cut-esque long hair on the top, it looks really good. I'm just very pleased with how the head sculpt turned out on this. And I do like this head sculpt the most out of the three. As far as the differences between the two rifles, this is the rifle from the Balaclava character. This is the rifle from the character we're talking about right now with the unmasked head. You can see the differences. This one has what looks to be like a grenade launcher on it with no optical sight. This one has an optics on it, and it has a hand grip. So there's the difference in the two. So it's nice you get a little bit of differentiation between the two, so they're not just kind of using the same thing. So there's that. Same kind of paint deco between the two, so nothing too crazy there, but you can obviously see the differences. The top of the rail is black, where this is just same color. So there's that. Okay, next up we've got the sniper, and this is a nice helmeted head right here. Pretty decent. It almost looks like he's smirking a little bit, like he knows he's about to get somebody. It's pretty cool. Gives him a little bit more character, and I can appreciate that. I like the sculpting of the helmet. Looks really good. The face sculpt looks pretty good. Pretty damn good, too. And I really do like it. You can definitely tell that he's of Asian descent, him and the other unmasked head. But looks really cool. I like that quite a bit. I'm bumping the camera all over the place. Moving on to the backpack. Now, here is the newly sculpted backpacks. As opposed to the other backpacks like the Marine Corps set, this is a different backpack. It's not automatically always attached to his back. You can actually put this on like an actual real backpack. I haven't had any issues with this set, but the other set, which was the anti-terrorist team, one of the backpack connection points snapped on me, and I'll just show you what I'm talking about. But here's the other backpack. It does have some differences between the two, but as you can see, one of these snapped on me, and I have to I'm going to re-glue it, but where the connection port is, it just kind of popped and snapped out. So I'll just have to re-glue it. It's not the end of the world, but it's something to point out, and that was with the anti-terrorist team. But with this set on its own, I would use a little bit of caution putting these on. Be sure to put both their arms backwards, like so, and then bend their elbows in like that when taking off or putting on the backpack. That's just a little tip that I could give you. Now, the nitpick with him, I don't know if you guys can see it, is that this guy has 2 left arms. It's an unfortunate thing with mine. It's not really a deal breaker. It does hinder his range of motion a little bit when he's looking down the sights. So, I don't know. I might swap him as the sniper with the other unmasked guy and just make him the other trooper, because it does hinder his range of motion, as I was saying. When I go for a full extension at a bend at the elbow, you can see that this part right here is getting in the way. But if I bend it back the other way, like it's supposed to go, if I twist it and bend it this way, that's where the arm is supposed to go. So I have 2 left arms, which sucks, but I'm not going to get all pissy about it. It's just a nitpick, I guess. It's a quality control concern. Must have got by somebody. It's understandable at the end of the day. So I'm not too upset about it. He can still function. He just can't function as well as I'd like. It does look a little funky. So there's that to point out. So take a look at your figures before you get them. I did contact Big Bad Toy Store, and they gave me a discount. So I was all set. I was taken care of. But, be sure to look at all your arms, your legs, your feet, and make sure the rights are on the right side and the lefts are on the left side. So, but not the end of the world. He still looks natural. So not too bad. That was the one nitpick I really wanted to point out. But the backpack sculpt looks good. I like that it differentiates from the other teams. I also like that it's got this little side clip right here. And if you take your rifle, you can clip it in. I like to clip it in just like that so it's nice and tight next to the backpack and it stays right there. There's no give in that or anything. So, and it looks really good on the backpack. Like he's ready to hit the road if he needs to. So, looks really cool. Very pleased with this. I just, that arm does suck, but there's nothing really I can do about it. I'm not getting a replacement part for it. So that does kind of suck, but as far as getting him into a sniper pose, you can still get him in there. It's not the worst thing ever. So let's just get his hand in there. I want to get that trigger finger in there. I don't have any issues with paint rubbage or anything like that, in case you're wondering while I'm dicking around here with this. But he can hold this sniper rifle. The other thing is that it is a bullpup sniper rifle. All of these are bullpups, so the stock is going to be extended. So you will have to do what we're all used to doing with sniper rifles. Is you're not going to be able to put the butt of the gun up into the arm like it's supposed to, like this. You still kind of have to hike it up a little bit. Still not the end of the world. It's not a natural pose, but you can get him into a sniping pose with not a lot of issues. And I mean a real deal sniping pose. I mean, look at that. That is right up against his eye. I think the one thing that they could JoyToy could improve on would be maybe a butterfly joint, because that would, I think, solve a lot of the problems. But there's not a whole lot of problems right here, as you can see. He is really looking down those sides. I mean, good Lord. If only my low light figure from G.I. Joe could do that. But he can't. So, you can't look down the sights like this dude can. He just can't. But it looks great. I love it. It's fantastic. Very pleased with how he turned out. I also like the fact that these hands are more of a rubbery plastic, because it really does work well with gripping and posing and such. So getting him into a kneeling pose really isn't an issue either. You can get him into a kneeling pose. You can use that toe articulation if you want to. You can really get him going here if you want. So if he's just taking a siesta, he's taking, not really a siesta, but if he's just taking a knee, he needs a minute. He's exhausted from his long hike. Oop, he's falling over. But there you go. He's taking a knee. Get him into a little bit more of a natural knee. There we go. That's better. Higher of a knee. There we go. That looks a little bit better. But it's just easy as that. It's easy as pie. Easy as cake. Here is Captain Skip. And they fit right in as far as scale goes. There you go. And they fit right in. I mean, they're perfect height for each other. I mean, everyone doesn't need to be the same height, which is fine. Actually, I think the Marauders figure is a little bit taller. Really like this set. I like all three figures. I think even if you just want to pick up one, I know there's some sellers on eBay that sell them separately. But, yeah, I would definitely give this a 2 thumbs up. There's my JoyToy thumbs. Both of them. Both of them. But I would definitely give this a recommend. I love the modularity of all of these figures. I love the fact that you've got removable pieces like scarves and belts and leg harnesses and stuff like that, and backpacks, and the heads are removable. The heads are also modular with Marauders Task Force heads and G.I. Joe heads. So if you want to put a G.I. Joe head on one of these guys, I don't know why you would want to do that, but you can if you want to. There's that option for you as well. But that's pretty much it for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you guys on the flip side.